Stourbridge, West Midlands, 2016. In the quiet rhythm of suburban life, Tracey Wilkinson was a woman defined by her immense, uncompromising compassion. When she encountered 23-year-old Aaron Barley sleeping rough outside a local supermarket, her first instinct was not to look away. She offered him a humanitarian lifeline: food, warmth, and the promise of a second chance. This was not a fleeting act of charity. The Wilkinson family integrated Barley into their lives, helping him secure employment at a company in Newport Docks, paying for his flat, and even providing him with a mobile phone.
Tracey found him in a cardboard box outside Tesco's one day, picked him up, said, "Get in my car, and you're not going to sleep here anymore."
As a family, we helped him, and that is why the crime is so much more unbelievable, because all we ever did was help him.
He became a regular guest at their home, welcomed even at their Christmas table. However, Barley's history was marked by profound early life trauma. Both of his parents passed away when he was young, as did his brother. Following these losses, he entered the foster care system and spent time in various care homes. His childhood was reported as deeply fragmented and marked by significant turmoil. Having experienced a series of traumatic events and profound instability during his early years, he was left to navigate the complexities of his youth without the support systems he required, which left deep, lasting psychological and emotional scars in his personality. Experts identified that Barley suffered from an emotionally unstable personality disorder. This condition meant that when faced with perceived abandonment or the breakdown of a relationship, he reacted with behavioral explosions far more extreme than those of a neurotypical individual. As his employment ceased and his contact with the Wilkinsons tapered off, his gratitude curdled into a toxic, lethal resentment. He began to view the family's stability not as a gift he had been helped to achieve, but as a taunt. The warnings of his potential for violence were documented well before the tragedy. It emerged in court that Barley had been reported to police after a former foster carer expressed alarm regarding posts he made on Facebook. These messages included threats against family members who had not spoken to him in years, as well as chilling references to the wish of perpetrating violent acts against others. Furthermore, volunteers at an alcohol and drug rehabilitation center reported that Barley had expressed a desire to take lives, specifically naming police and prison officers as his intended targets. While these outbursts were often dismissed as bravado fueled by substance use, they revealed a pre-existing obsession with lethal aggression. To understand the events of March 30th, 2017, one must recognize the extreme level of premeditation. Barley orchestrated a calculated invasion. Having surreptitiously duplicated a key during his time as a house guest, he chose not to use it for simple entry. Instead, he arrived at the property in the early hours, hiding in the garden and driveway for hours. He meticulously prepared for his task, removing his light-colored jacket to minimize his visibility and even covering his trainers with black socks to move across the property in total, ghostly silence. At 4 a.m., he entered the garden shed, armed with a tool he had found on the patio, waiting for the precise moment the family's defenses would be at their lowest. The most haunting detail recovered by investigators was his behavior on the lawn. Security cameras captured him crawling back and forth across the grass, a sight the presiding judge later described as chilling viewing. He was a predator navigating the shadows of a home that had treated him with nothing but hospitality. At 7:30 a.m., he watched Peter Wilkinson step out to walk the family dog, leaving the back kitchen door unlocked, the final unwitting gap in the family's defenses. The moment the door clicked shut, Barley moved. He entered the kitchen, armed himself with knives, and made his way upstairs. The violence that followed was sustained and marked by severe force. He carried out an attack on Tracey and their 13-year-old son, Pierce, which tragically resulted in them losing their lives. The clinical coldness of his actions was underscored by the fact that he climbed onto the bed to carry out the assault, leaving behind the marks of his presence on the sheets. Barley did not flee immediately. He waited for the final member of the household to return. When Peter Wilkinson walked through the kitchen door at 8 a.m., he was met with a terrifying confrontation. Barley, dressed in black and wearing a mask, engaged him in a violent struggle.
I did my normal thing of going out to take the dog for a walk. I came back and I can remember looking through the window of the back door at the house, thinking that everybody must have overslept because nobody was up. I opened the back door, and as I did it, he jumped out from behind the wall, behind a wall in the kitchen, all dressed in black, and with a big knife held over his head, and started stabbing me with it.
Following this, Barley fled the scene in the family's vehicle, convinced he had left no witnesses. Yet, despite suffering life-threatening wounds, including deep incisions to his abdomen and bowel, Peter Wilkinson performed an act of immense courage. Even while enduring enormous pain and critical injuries, he managed to telephone the police. It was this specific emergency call that alerted authorities and triggered an immediate coordinated response. Because of Peter's actions in dialing 999, the police were able to initiate a pursuit within minutes. This rapid alert directly prevented Barley from disappearing, turning a potential escape into a high-speed chase through built-up areas. The pursuit ended when Barley crashed the stolen vehicle into a wall, allowing officers to apprehend him before the sun had fully risen.
Police and ambulance were called to an address in Greyhound Lane, Norton, just after 8 a.m. this morning. Officers and paramedics were confronted with an awful scene. A man, a woman and a 13-year-old boy were found, all with very serious stab injuries. They have been to believe to have been inflicted by a man known to the family, but not a family relative. Tragically, there was nothing that could be done to save the woman. She was pronounced dead at the scene. The boy was taken to hospital, but sadly nothing could be done to save him, and he later died at the hospital. The man is in critical but stable condition. The victims are all from the same family: a mum, a dad and a son. The family car was stolen, and our officers intercepted that car at around 8:30 a.m. in Norton Road, Stourbridge. Despite being rammed by the vehicle, they managed to get the driver and detain him and arrest him on suspicion of murder.
The subsequent trial at Birmingham Crown Court offered a grim look into the mind of a man who showed no remorse, but only regret that his final victim had survived. In October 2017, the Honorable Mrs. Justice Carr sentenced Barley to life in prison. Although his youth precluded a whole life order, his minimum term was later increased to 35 years following an appeal by the Solicitor General. The judge labeled him a controlled and calculating predator, noting that he had abused the intimacy of the family home to destroy the very people who had shown him the most kindness.
No, there's no motive.
There's no motive, there's no explanation. My personal feeling, and this is purely my personal feeling, is that he lost his job, he lost his flat, and he decided that because his life was going bad ways, he was going to take it out on the people that had cared and looked after him.
Today, the aftermath of this case remains a harrowing reality. Peter Wilkinson, who required over 100 stitches and staples, lives with permanent physical scarring and the profound lingering trauma of post-traumatic stress disorder. His daughter Lydia was forced to confront the loss of her mother and brother at the most formative stage of her life, forever haunted by the tragedy. This case serves as a dark warning about the inherent vulnerability of compassion, illustrating the terrifying reality that sometimes the monster is not at the gate, you have already invited him in. The tragic case of Aaron Barley serves as a harrowing reminder of the complexities surrounding homelessness, mental health, and the risks inherent in acts of compassion. While the Wilkins family's kindness was met with an unthinkable betrayal, the story leaves many searching for answers about how such a tragedy could be prevented in the future. What are your thoughts on how society can better balance empathy with necessary safety measures? Thank you for watching this video until the end. If you found this coverage insightful, please subscribe for more in-depth content.